Hey guys, it's Donnie B, and you're listening to episode 23 of Eat It Up, Buffalo Eats Own podcast and a very proud member of Audio Buffalo. Today on the show we have Nina Barone, who is a local food blogger who primarily writes about recipes and home cooking, but also occasionally touches on restaurant reviews, in addition to being a freelance writer for Buffalo Spree. I've gotten to know Nina probably over the last year plus just from kind of being at the same events together, and we've even judged a chili contest, and we just recently were both panelists in the WGRZ's top 10 favorite restaurants. So we kind of had some stuff that we could talk about, that we could bond over, and we had a pretty good talk. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and I highly recommend that you check out her site, buffalofoodie.com. It's very entertaining, and it helps anybody become, a good chef in their own kitchen. So here's the... how did you get contacted about the top 10 thing? About the WGRZ?
Let's see. John Beard sent me an email.
Nice.
Which was exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's John Beard. This must be something special. But yeah, he told me that someone had recommended me to him for consideration to be one of the panelists. Yeah. And yeah, it just sort of got rolling from there.
That's
How
awesome.
about you? Were you same thing? Like
kind of like we've been posting our articles on Channel 2.
Like okay, yeah.
Like their one web, I guess, guy was
the
like
community thing.
Yeah. He's like, hey, like all you have to do is post a little link, and you can still redirect it to your site, but just throw like an intro.
Cool.
And then he's like, yeah, I sent your name in for this thing that they want to do. He's like,
nice.
I hope they. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
and then like
nice.
nothing happened, and then all of a sudden I got that email, and it was
at first it was like I heard like a while before, like almost a year. I think maybe like 8 months or something.
Yeah, it was
and
like
then I was like, oh, maybe they never got approval to do it or something. Yeah. And then I heard from him like a month or so before, and he was saying they want to do it for Sweeps Week and whatever. So
how do you feel about the final top 10 list?
I thought it was pretty decent. Yeah. I think, there were some things on there that I can say nice things about because they have some great qualities, but I don't really go there regularly.
Yeah. There's some of those restaurants that are like, I think a little above my pay grade for being like a regular. Yeah, no,
definitely. I mean,
like,
some of them really are not regular. Just feel like going out kind of places.
Exactly. I could say like my one visit that I had to Oliver's. Like that's really the extent of it. Like I'm not like hanging out there every night or anything.
And I love Oliver's, and we've been there, more than a few times now, but still it's not like a totally go there regularly kind of place. And Tempo and a few others too, Tempo, I'm sure too, you'd put in that category. It's just and then there's those places that you love but would never make a list like that unless maybe I don't know. I was nervous. I thought I was kind of waiting for them to post all of our top 10 lists or something like that. I don't know. He told me they weren't really gonna do like anything like that, so I don't know. I just I wasn't sure, but
I don't know. It's crazy. I have you gotten like any recognition? Like, has anyone?
Yeah, a few people. I mean, obviously, like when I went into work the next day, I had
everyone's calling you like
a bunch of messages and emails and stuff. And everybody at work was like, "Oh my gosh, I saw you on the news this morning." A few people like emailed me randomly, like people I've never met, just like, oh, that was really cool. And this one person was like, thanks for talking about a couple of those places that didn't make the list because some of those were my favorites, and it was good to know, they just missed it or whatever. So it was kind of neat. Yeah.
And now, have you read any of the comments on the Facebook wall?
I did like the first week or so. I didn't like keep checking back on there regularly, but
I didn't like
it's always funny.
I didn't think to do it at all, and then I saw somebody mention like they couldn't believe what people thought should have been on the list, and I was like, all right, let me check this out. And then like I see like
I know
like Zeb's
I know. I was like, and next somebody's gonna write, oh, I can't believe Applebee's and Fridays aren't on there, and just I mean like you have to just, I guess, take stuff like that with a grain of salt and
I tried not to sound
shrug it off.
I didn't want to come across as like elitist or anything like that. But like just the restaurants that these people were like, I can't believe chefs did not get on there, and I'm like,
well, I mean, the two of us, like, we both had things on there that are much more like you'd go to, on a regular basis and don't break the bank. And
exactly. I had like Susie Q's. Like, that's like a little hole in the wall, but
definitely.
I don't know. How have you like started? Like, so how long ago did you start the blog?
It's just been not even 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it had a few incarnations before this one that actually
really?
stuck. Yeah, it was.
Are those still out there?
No, not really. Actually, this blog has some previous
archives.
Yeah, stuff from like a few years back, but they didn't really go with the new format as much, so they're just sort of not public anymore. But I've always loved to write and used to write in college and
for the Griffin.
Yeah, for the Griffin, which was super fun. My husband and I worked on it together, which was fun. He was on the design end and I was a writer.
Nice.
Yeah, I used to have a fashion and like style column for that too, and I'd write features and different things. But I've always loved food, and this blog just stuck. People would constantly be asking me, can you send me that recipe, or how'd you get the idea to make this, or when I'd make something and share it, people would ask like, well, how do you know? You're always like, oh, well, you just, add a little bit more of this or that. And you don't really have a great answer for that all the time. Some of it just kind of comes with practice and experimenting and playing around with different ingredients and getting to know them more intimately. And so eventually people were asking me for things so regularly, I thought, well, maybe I should just start posting this stuff, and then people can, grab it on there if they want. And then it would give me a chance to share tips and things too. Okay. And I always feel like, people are sometimes afraid to just start cooking or baking because they're like, I don't know if it's the failure factor or, I'm going to spend all this time making this and it might not even taste good or it might not come out right. Or, so I always just thought it was a nice way too to be able to share like tips and tricks and pointers that maybe you don't get if you just purchase a cookbook. I've seen more cookbooks lately that have tips and notes and things in them, which I think is great. Yeah,
like I remember cookbooks from my mom, and literally it was just like a 3-ring binder with just a list of recipes and like literally nothing else. Like no personality to it or anything. Like it's not even like something you could read. It's like literally just reference when you need it.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And I think I'm drawn to cookbooks that have more of like those kinds of notes and tips and things in them because it's so helpful and it's so much more approachable.
I'm assuming that there's a lot of cooking in the household growing up. Like this has to have been something that's been going on for a while.
Yes, definitely. My dad's from Italy and very particular tastes, let's say, with everything, especially food. Growing up in a very like rural part of Italy and having everything super fresh. A small ice box at best, not even a real refrigerator. Everything had to be fresh, and everything was local, not just because it was a cool statement or something, but because that was all you had. And, so, growing up, my dad went to the grocery store like almost every day, or my mom went to the grocery store like almost every day, because my dad was just like used to that. So my mom loves to cook, and she's a fantastic cook and baker, and she did most of the cooking growing up. And my dad had his like certain dishes he would make, or if she needed a hand with something, he would step in. But most of the time, mom was cooking. Yeah. But we grew up, sauce every Sunday, and then usually sauce once a week during the week from the other half of the pot if we didn't have tons of people over to eat all of it in one sitting. And just a lot of Italian, and some other things here and there. Yeah. And lots of baking and lots of food around holidays, and any excuse for getting people together meant lots of food.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw Nick's tweets when it was like Christmas time and you were showing like all the baking that you were doing and all the cookies.
About like 1,200 cookies. No big deal.
Insane. Like I was seeing like these pictures and like there's this you and like a table. It seems like several tables that are like pushed together.
Oh yeah, we pushed together like two of the kitchen table and the dining room table, and then another table that we set up. That's insane. Yeah, and we take turns. Like we'll do some of them at my house, some of them at my mom's house.
Now, is that like a family thing, or have all your friends realized like that you're the go-to like cook? Like they all expect a little.
Yeah, I mean, people definitely like coming over to eat, and knowing they'll see me, I might like bring a little like bag of cookies or something like that. And I love to like if I find out somebody's favorite something that I can make, like I love to make it for them. Nice. Or if I find out somebody loves something and I've never made it before, I'll like search for a recipe. I like to like research recipes crazy.
I have to like hit you up because I think we once mentioned that we tried to make cacio e pepe here.
Oh yeah, and
it failed every time. It sucks. and you mentioned,
I remember Allie saying, and I was like trying to be really encouraging, like writing back like, it's okay, did you try this? And, like, but like not like trying to like tell her like do this. But you know, it's a sensitive thing to make.
We've tried it maybe 3 times, and she's tried it once, and I've tried it like twice.
Yeah,
and because I pretty much do most of the cooking
here,
but it just, I don't know, understand how it's such a hard thing when it seems like it's so simple. And like
sometimes though those like just a few ingredients, like especially sauces and things, can be very temperamental. Like weird factors, like I don't know, the humidity or like how hot it is when you're cooking, even like the heat, the temperature on the stove or the kind of stove, like could really you know, change the cook time. And that's like something that you don't see in the recipe again, you know. It's just like you have to kind of just like feel it.
How long do you think it took you when you started like writing recipes like on your blog to where you started feeling like what you wanted to, like that you wanted a personal aspect to it? Or like was it kind of just like over time you kind of figured it out?
I guess it happened kind of organically. I don't know. It was
like were you more of a cook that just kind of knows the amounts, or were you pretty meticulous where you had to have a certain?
It definitely made me more disciplined in writing things down, because most of the time when I would cook, I would just start throwing things in a pan or a pot or whatever, and you know, after the meal, wow, this was so good, and I don't really remember, you know, exactly how I made it, and I could probably recreate it again, but there were tons of times before I had the blog too that I would realize people would come over and have dinner, or I'd bring something somewhere, and people would ask for the recipe, and this actually just happened over the weekend when I brought, it was actually a drink, it was watermelon margaritas, and I brought it in like a big pitcher to a party. And someone asked for the recipe, and as soon as she asked for the recipe, I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to go home and like actually write it out, because I tweak things a lot too. I might see a recipe and then I'll be like, I think this would be better with XYZ, or I don't even have that in the house and I don't feel like going to get it, but this is really close. You know, a lot of like substitutions and stuff. Then all of a sudden I'll realize that was better than the other version when I made it like following the recipe. I have tons of recipes that have been like printed off the internet or something, and I'll like write notes next to them or cross things out or whatever. And
is that kind of like what you post on the site, like things that you've kind of tweaked? Or
a little bit of everything. Like one time Nicholas saw Chris Saka, is that his name? Chris Saka posted, he's a Buffalo native, and he's in Silicon Valley now, I think. And he posted this crazy recipe that didn't even have proportions or anything for pumpkin and butternut squash lasagna. And it was just like, this is a loose guide to like how, I don't remember if he made it or made it with a friend or something, but it sounded so good. And immediately it was like, oh gosh, what am I doing on like Saturday or Sunday? Because I might need like 4 hours in the kitchen for this one. So I like made the ingredients list, had like 5 kinds of cheeses in it. I had whole little pumpkin pie baking pumpkins from our farm share. And so I even like made the pumpkin, like it wasn't like canned pumpkin. So I like baked the pumpkin, like pureed it and all that, and that had no proportions at all. So I just guessed, like based on having made lasagna tons of times, like red sauce lasagna, and then making veggie lasagna a couple times with my mom. I was like, I think I could kind of guess how much it would be for a pan. And then so I bought rough, guesses on all the ingredients, and then just started making it. It was hilarious. I mean, I was in the kitchen for literally hours. And but it was really fun, like it's sort of an adventure, and I find it like very therapeutic. Like it's like when I'm stressed out, I usually like cook and most likely bake. It's like a release for me. But I was in the kitchen, all day and all afternoon working on it, but it was so good. And then I had all the proportions written out because I wrote them as I was doing it, and then I posted that on my blog with the link to, he originally posted this and didn't have any of the proportions, but I kind of just figured it out.
Jeez.
It was sort of an accomplishment.
Do you like do you set out to write a blog post, or do you start making something and realize like this could be a cool blog post?
I would say it's almost half and half.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll make something totally not intending to do a blog post on it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it's done, I'm like, oh crap, I should go grab the camera because it's like beautiful, or I've already tasted it and it tastes so good.
Yeah.
Or I'm just imagining people are going to want the recipe if they see it or hear it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it happens that way. And other times I'm like, wow, this is like a really fun recipe I've been wanting to make, or a recipe I've made for someone and a lot of people have asked for it. Or, so then I do it both ways, but it just kind of depends.
Do you ever feel like you have to put like you encourage yourself to write something new? Like, do you have like, or does it just like whenever you feel like it, or do you try to have like any type of set?
Yeah, I was doing it almost like weekly for a while, or every other week. So I've been sticking to around that. You could tell that I'm especially busy, like with my day job or other things, because it like kills me to go more than a couple weeks. But every once in a while that happens. But it's about that.
Yeah. But have you noticed like it's been getting more popular over time, or?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you've been like featured in like, Buffalo News the one month.
The that was recipe, that got a lot of.
You got a lot of buzz.
Yeah, that got a lot of hits. And writing regularly for Buffalo Spree now has gotten more traffic to the site, and
how long have you been doing that?
About a year,
nice.
Almost a year. Yeah, a year this summer. Nice. Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy it.
Because I mean, occasionally before that, I noticed that you had restaurant reviews. And that's how that's how actually I found out about it, because you were on the Urban Spoon leaderboard, and like when I started blogging and stuff like that, I was like looking for anyone else like I could see, and I was like, oh nice, there's a couple of restaurant reviews here. Yeah,
I started originally, I was doing that more, and then the reason I think it stuck more and took was because I did start posting more like the recipes and things, and that's really what I'm passionate about. I love going out to eat, of course, but I really love to cook, and I cook most nights of the week, and I love making food and getting people together to eat a meal together, and I'm a big believer in sort of the slow food movement, and people kind of slowing down a little bit and taking the time to cook and bake, because I feel really fortunate that I grew up with that more, and it's kind of sad to think that not as many people do that anymore, but life is busy, and it's hard to do it. It takes work to make time for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it took you 4 hours to make those.
Definitely, those are like weekend projects if I carve out time.
Yeah, that's not something you're doing on like 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, no, I have lots of go-to weeknight recipes, and I get a lot of requests for those. Yeah, weeknight recipes. Yeah,
like the regulars, I guess. You could say.
Yeah.
How did you? I mean, I know you enjoy like eating out. You said, and like I know you're more an adventurous eater as well, because I mean your favorite restaurant's like Sea Bar, or one of your favorites, and they have some pretty creative stuff. Like, when did that come in? Like the willing to try whatever.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say growing up in a house where we ate things that people maybe didn't eat regularly, like even bringing to lunch at school like mortadella sandwiches and soppressata, like hot calabrese salami sandwiches on like crusty fresh baked Italian bread. Nice. Not like Wonder Bread and stuff. Yeah, I mean, just even sort of starting with that kind of thing growing up, it just sort of different. Poises you for being a little bit more open-minded about food, and there wasn't a lot of like, oh, that looks gross, I don't want to try that in our house growing up either. Pretty much it was like, if dad or mom put it in front of you, like, you at least tried it. Oh, yeah. But there weren't many foods that I didn't like either growing up. So that helps. But I'd say when I was in high school, I started to get into like different kinds of cuisine. And maybe because we ate a lot of Italian, Yeah,
it was kind of like, you want something different. Maybe?
Yeah, like I started to discover like Thai food and Spanish food and Mexican. I used to like to try to make recipes and things. And
I know you're a big lover of India Gate.
Yes, I love India Gate. And India Gate was sort of a college thing for us. We used to go really regularly. Yeah.
I've still never been there.
Oh my gosh,
and I've only eaten Indian like once. I suck.
Really? Yeah. Where did you? In Buffalo or somewhere else?
In Buffalo, yeah. What the hell
Tandoori,
is it?
Kebab and Curry.
Yeah, tandoori.
You start naming them all.
Tandoori out on Transit over there.
Yeah. It's good there.
Yeah, we had a good meal.
Yeah, I think India Gate is like the best, but it's also so nice that it's, we can walk there, and and it's sort of nostalgic for us too, so that might have something to do with it, but but I love it there.
I wish Mean Alley had more creative restaurants. I think our dates, I think about Jim Stakeout, and I think about Ambets on Elmwood and things like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wish we had healthier choices that we could go on our dates. Since you're such obviously you probably enjoy cooking at home and dining maybe more than going out to eat. Mm-hmm. And everyone needs a break, I guess. But do you find if you go out to a restaurant and you don't have a good meal, are you almost more pissed because you're thinking I could have made something better than this? Because I don't think that way, because I'm not a good cook. So if I go to a restaurant that sucks, I'm like, oh, that sucked. But I'm not really thinking funny. I could have made better. Is that ever?
I know what you mean. I would say every once in a while, I'm really, if I can identify something in a meal that was so clearly a shortcut or really sloppy, it kind of gets annoying. But I think on the whole, we don't eat at that many places where that's an issue. But
I mean, do you think the cooking has? Do you eat a little bit differently? Do you think do you maybe pick up on what's in the dish maybe more than I guess a normal person would, because not normal?
No, I know what you mean.
Somebody who's not as
definitely
interested in cooking and things.
I think people have slightly different palates based on if they cook a lot regularly, and even if they eat out a lot, maybe certain kinds of food or something, they might have a better palate for identifying those kind of things.
Yeah. Do you find that have you gone to a restaurant where you've been inspired to cook something restaurant?
Definitely. Actually, I was just writing a blog post yesterday about this pasta dish that I made, and because we ate a lot of tomato sauce growing up, Sunday sauce, that's the kind that sits on the stove all day and cooks. I always loved when we would go out to eat. Once my parents started taking us out more when we were in high school, we started going out to eat almost once a week as a treat more than anything.
Okay, yeah.
And
in our family it was a treat if we ever.
Yeah. And I would always be drawn to these unusual sounding pasta dishes to me, it's got feta cheese in it and calamari olives and sun-dried tomatoes, and there was this pasta dish that I really liked actually from La Marina on Hurdle back when it first opened. It's not even there anymore, but when it first opened,
I was trying to think. I was like, I don't know what this is.
I think it closed maybe while we were in college still, but just super fresh fish. They had a fish market area type thing too in there, I think.
Interesting.
And it was all these yummy calamari olives, sun-dried tomatoes, feta. It might have had artichoke heart in it too. Artichoke hearts. And then it had seared scallops and shrimp on top. And I got really into seafood in high school too. And so this was my favorite pasta dish. And one day at home I was thinking, I should try to make it. It's not even that many ingredients. And so I bought all this stuff and I just started playing around, and I ended up making it all the time when I was in high school and college because it was so good, and it was very easy, as far as it wasn't a lot of ingredients. And, it was just a garlic and olive oil type sauce. And while the pasta's cooking, you can basically make everything else, which is really nice. And I love meals like that for weeknight or throwing together for a crowd. Sometimes it's nice to have a protein, and then you make something like that on the side. And usually people are wowed by that. And you're really? It only took the time it was taking for the pasta to boil and cook. I was, just making this in the pan right next to it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. But going back to the blog post I was working on, I remembered that making those kind of pasta dishes was sort of inspired by going out to eat and then wanting to recreate it at home. So that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm jealous of your college roommates.
My parents?
Oh, you said it. Oh, okay.
I did, yeah.
I was going to say, like, the normal kid is, like, eating ramen and things like that.
Yeah, no, I was home most of college. My brothers moved out, and so I was, like, queen of the house. I had it made just with mom and dad. And my friends would come over all the time, and we would do sometimes, even after college, like, the first year we were all working, you know, everybody was, like, starting to, you know, move out on their own or move away from their college roommate type lifestyle and move into maybe another place. And we would do like these little theme nights sometimes. Like I'd have a couple girlfriends over and we would do like Thai night or Greek night or whatever. And everybody would like bring a few ingredients and then I would basically like show them how to make something. And sometimes they were just things like, you know, chicken souvlaki type thing.
Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Or just like a pad thai or something like that. And they would be like, wow, but if I hadn't seen you make it, I would never believe I could make it. So it's kind of nice because then they would feel like, you know, they could make it too, which is always good.
It was like the beginnings of the blog almost.
Yeah. And that was like years beforehand, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm super curious. I think we should do this on the podcast. That you brought a dessert for us.
I did.
Now, is this a recent post? Or is this...
It's actually a new take on a post I did last summer.
Really?
Yeah, I had a lot of nice rhubarb from the farmer's market last summer, and I wanted to try making like a strawberry rhubarb crisp, and it came out really nice. It was actually from the book Animal Vegetable Miracle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Do you have like a big selection of cookbooks or no?
I do. Yeah, I have really nice in our kitchen. I have a built-in bookshelf that's just all my cookbooks and some like cooking magazines and food magazines. But that book is it's actually like a cross between a novel and a journal and a recipe cookbook thing.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's about a family that like tried to live off their land and their local community and just eat all local for a year. And so they shared like their experience through the whole thing and shared recipes and stuff. So I got the rhubarb crisp recipe from that. So you should taste it.
Yeah. I'll take some pictures and we'll put it on the site so people can see what we're talking about.
And I brought some sea salt chocolate chip cookies too.
Jeez.
So that's what these are. These are a real favorite. This is moving up to like the very top of the list of most requested recipes.
Do you have like your signature dish?
Well, this is like crazy. Nicholas can attest. I saw this recipe on Pinterest after having read a New York Times article. I know, it's so ridiculous. But I read a New York Times article like a long time ago. Well, by a long time ago, I mean probably like last year.
Okay.
Really long time ago. Yeah. And it shared Jacques Torre, something like that. The chocolatier's recipe for sea salt chocolate chip cookies. And I was reading it and I'm like, what is so special about these? And besides that there's sea salt in them.
Yeah.
And I love chocolate and sea salt. It's like amazing. It's way up there on my list of favorite things.
Yeah.
And I noticed in the recipe though, it was very close to just sort of like your classic Toll House chocolate chip cookie recipe or something.
Okay.
But it had bread flour and cake flour in it instead of just like all-purpose white flour, whatever. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a whirl. So I made it and like I brought some to work and everyone went nuts. And my one colleague said, this is the best chocolate chip cookie I've ever had. And then my other colleague said, this is the best cookie I've ever had, period.
Wow.
So I was like, this is crazy, guys.
You're building this up right now.
You're really building this up. But so I figured out why people love them so much. Like the texture is a little bit different. And if you undercook them a little bit in the middle, it's just like you're eating straight cookie dough. Now, the problem is, once they sit for, like, even 24 hours, like I baked these yesterday, they don't have that, like, mushy in the middle as much anymore. But, I mean, that happens with any cookie, I guess. But the sea salt is really, I mean, it's phenomenal. There's coarse sea salt in the batter, but then there's some coarse sea salt, like, sprinkled on top. Yeah. So, they're really yummy. Right. But I really didn't expect for it to replace my regular chocolate chip cookie recipe at all. And now I've made them like 7 or 8 times in 3 months. So taste the, I don't know, how do you want to do this?
Actually, as you're talking, I was thinking of something else. How much time do you spend reading about recipes?
Oh, geez.
Like, do you think, like, so obviously, like, you cook.
Yeah.
I mean, safe to say almost 6 days a week, 5 days.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a lot of kitchen time.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, probably maybe more or less, depending on it. Yeah. But then, how much time do you spend reading about recipes? Or I know Pinterest is crazy for that.
Yeah. Now. You know, I don't actually spend that much time on Pinterest, and I can tell you why. It sort of goes back to what you're saying about restaurants. Yeah. That you might, like, criticize something that they're doing. I just, like, so many Pinterest recipes are like, I'll be like, wow, those cupcakes look amazing, and I'll click on it, and then it's like 1 box yellow cake mix. And I'm like, wait, that's not real. So I mean, like, I found a recipe on there for a Lego cake. It was like a cake shaped like a Lego block.
Well, I need that.
And I made it for my husband for his birthday cake. Nice. And the cake recipe part called for like a boxed cake mix, and I don't know, it didn't even really have that many other additives or anything to the cake mix. It was just like, make the cake mix as instructed on the box. And I was like, no, I don't do that. So I just like found another cake recipe that I really liked, and I just made the cake recipe, and then I pulled out the recipe once I got to the stage of actually building the Lego blocks. So but I mean, that's kind of why I don't spend a ton of time on Pinterest on the food and drink page. Yeah, I get some ideas.
A lot of that is like, it's a cute picture. It's maybe not like a whole idea behind it, but it's like, oh, look, I made like deep fried Reese's peanut butter cups or something.
And like,
and
I think
you
can get you can get great ideas from it, but there's not that many things that I've made from there that I really liked.
Okay. Do you put your stuff on there? Like, have you noticed?
It's funny, actually. I'm not good about it. But the first time that I did go to post something, I don't know how it happens, but you start like searching for something or whatever, and other things come up, I think. Yeah. But whatever it was, I started to write something, and then I found out that 3 people had pinned my post, like, just in the past year or so, and I was like, what? Mind blown. Like, I just had no idea. And it was just sort of like another one of those moments of, you know, when you first get like a huge rush of traffic to your site, or all of a sudden like a bunch of comments or something, and you're like, whoa, I don't even know these people, and, or like people tweeting at you, and you're like, I don't even know these people, this is so nice, and like food love and whatever. But I mean, it was sort of like that feeling, but I spend more time on like the women's apparel and the hair and beauty or something, but I like to post things like pretty bracelets and like silly things like that. But I spend a lot of time reading cookbooks and like food sites and food blogs and stuff like that.
Do you have like I guess the blog is kind of like your recipe book, but like, do you have an actual like legit your own recipe book? I
haven't made a recipe book at all yet. I have a binder that has loose recipes I've collected over the years that I liked, and I sort of clean it out like once a year. I actually just cleaned it out during the winter and got rid of things, and I was like, why did I even print this? And
it's kind of like what I do with my Facebook friend list every couple 6 months.
As anyone should. I think if more people did that, we'd all be better off. Yeah. But I ended up realizing, you know, how many of those things were just things that I never really made. So I would toss them and then, you know, replace them with new ones. But a lot of them are also like family recipes and things that I haven't memorized. Like, maybe I don't make them enough to memorize them. But my grandma made a little recipe book, cookbook thing that she actually printed and bound for my mom and my aunt. And it's like gold. I mean, it's amazing.
It's grandma's recipe.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
The one thing is, like, I told Andrew Galarno when he was interviewing me for the Cook of the Month for the Buffalo News, certain things are like just butter, or some sugar. Nice. So you just don't really know sometimes what exactly you need and what the portions are. So nice. There have been a lot of like my mom writing next to it like what it actually is. And fortunately for us, my grandma's still around and we can ask her. Yeah. You know, I've called her a few times. I've called my mom a few times. Like, what is this? It just says there's like, no like add some olive oil to the pan. Like, am I filling it up like an inch or two, or is it just like a dusting? Like, you know, there's
no like conversion scale that you have, or
no. Which actually, that conversion thing reminds me. I've been playing around with this cookbook that's from Australia, and I should just like take out the page in the back of the book that's the conversions, because everything's in grams and wow. You know, it's metric system. We all, you know, all that. I'm missing the boat on that stuff, but it's really funny because it takes a lot longer to to make anything from that book. Nice. It's funny though.
Yeah. Do we need a knife or anything?
Might be able to just kind of scoop it out with the forks.
Yeah, if that's fine.
Let's see. I hope it's still a little warm.
It's still warm.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
When we had Sarah Whaley,
she
brought her macaroons,
oh my
and she was like, we were trying them out, and she was like freaking out that they weren't the right temperature.
Oh, I know, because you keep them refrigerated, right, till serving, but you want to bring them up to room temperature.
Yeah, they were good. I mean, they were warm enough, but they were still a little cool. But it was like,
oh my god, I love those macarons. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. I love them. I've had some macarons in big cities at, you know, special bakeries that I think hers are better than a lot.
You went to Lottery
in New York, did you go?
Yeah, and I thought some of theirs like sucked in comparison.
Yeah, I think she even has said before on Twitter and stuff that some of them were not very good.
Yeah, but this is delicious.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. I'll tell you now that you're eating it. There's a little secret. It's actually gluten-free.
Really?
And it was one of my first experiments of like, I was trying to think of a recipe because I have a few friends who have celiac disease. So I was trying to think of a recipe that wouldn't be like a huge departure from the original ingredients to make it gluten-free. So since there's not really much in it besides like on the topping, there's oats and some flour, but it's not a ton. So I thought, well, I bet you wouldn't even really notice the taste difference if I used like a gluten-free blend, like a baking flour. So I picked up a bag at the co-op, and I knew that there was a brand that I liked to buy, the oatmeal, that they make gluten-free oats. So I thought, oh, that's perfect. So yeah, and so now I know I can make this for them. We're going to get together next week, so I'm going to make it again then for them. And they're like so excited because it's just like it's a regular dessert, but it's gluten-free. So.
Have you gotten like requests for like that kind of, I mean, that's
here
more
and there.
Popular.
Yeah. Well, and I people know I like to experiment and be adventurous with it, so they, I think, don't really feel bad like asking, and I totally don't mind. So yeah.
Like, because I mean, a lot of like the local food blogs, like Tasty Yummies, Beth from Hero, that's kind of more geared towards gluten free and things like like everybody's kind of got a little bit of an angle, I guess, to their food blog. I know like 29 Hungry's about like just learning how to cook from like scratch, and I'm trying to think of the other ones out there. But so I mean, do you think you have like a theme, or is it more just cooking good food with good ingredients?
I think it just kind of comes back to that like approachable way of cooking and baking and not being afraid to try things and experiment. And obviously I've been doing it for a while because I kind of grew up doing it, but I like to be adventurous with it too. So the whole not being intimidated, spending like hours in the kitchen making a recipe is kind of part of it, but also recognizing that it's great to have like a little stash of those easy to whip together kind of meals and stuff too. So yeah. Do
you have like a favorite style? Like, do you think, or like a favorite, like, do you prefer baking over cooking, or
I don't know. That's hard because
it's just the mood, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, when I was younger, definitely it was baking, and I didn't really know that much about cooking and experimenting cooking, so it was baking. I would say baking might still win out by like a hair, because there's just something about like a comforting sweet or conquering, making something look really beautiful. Although you can do that with savory food for sure. And I love to make a beautiful dinner, or even just a great tasting lunch or breakfast. Like, we even make breakfast a lot. And
really?
Yeah.
I wish. I'm not a morning person at all. So
I love breakfast food, so I like making like quiche and different kinds of like fancy eggs and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, we made egg sandwiches over the weekend, and I like to, recreate some things I've tasted too when they're really good. So I kind of mimicked the Elm Street Bakery egg sandwich. That was really, really good.
That place is awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You went there on your tour of East Aurora.
Yeah. Ryan hadn't been. I took Ryan from Yelp Buffalo over there, and we really enjoyed it. Yeah,
I was jealous. Fun. You guys spent like almost an entire day.
Yeah, we did. We spent the whole day around East Aurora. It was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, they got a nice little scene down there.
Definitely.
There's a couple of really good restaurants.
Yeah, and some really cute shops in between, so you can do a little eating, a little shopping, and yeah, definitely a good day trip. If you live in the city, it's a day trip.
I guess I'll wrap it up. Like, what do you have any goals for blogging or writing in the future? Or could you ever foresee a Buffalo foodie cookbook or anything like that?
Well, that's what everyone's saying now.
Yeah,
when are you going to do your cookbook?
Yeah. It seems like a natural.
I would love to. That would be really fun. Yeah. I think I'd have the patience and the discipline for it, although I'm sure it is much more challenging than it even seems, knowing that it is challenging. Yeah. But that would be really fun. I would love to do that someday.
Yeah. So maybe one day we'll see it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nina, thank you for coming down here and bringing us a delicious dessert.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
I'm glad.